Hello and welcome to the Anything But Wrestling podcast, where we talk about anything but wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Radke, and I'll get right into it. We got a very special guest here today. He is Pig Daddy Cool. Let's introduce Boar. Boar,
Rocking
how the
around.
hell are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to. I kind of talk about anything but wrestling, kind of wrestling
Yeah.
adjacent.
Wrestling adjacent today, just because of the subject matter. So to get into it, one of the first things you and I kind of chatted about outside of a wrestling context is action figures.
Yeah,
Because I think I posted something on Instagram or something like that. So we've been chit chatting a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. Anytime we're on the same show, it's pretty much the highlight of the show
Right.
for me.
Yeah.
Besides making merch money, man.
Well, yeah, I gotta get that money, brother.
Not the fig community is growing, but it's still pretty niche.
Hmm.
So there's not too many of us out there. You are much more of an accomplished collector than I am. I mean that setup back there is phenomenal, and that's
I
just a part of it.
appreciate that. Oh yeah, the setups it's a part of it. I've been doing it, I don't know, probably like 5 years now, five,
Okay.
6 years. So that's where this whole thing kind of started. And then obviously like didn't I was living at my mom's when I started, so I didn't have a whole lot of space to like put stuff. But then obviously, you move out, you get bigger spaces, and here we are.
Priority number one.
Yeah. So what got you into like collecting figures?
So man, not talk about wrestling, but wrestling fan my whole life. So like I had a couple action figures as a kid.
Mhm.
I had a whole bunch of Hasbros and Hasbros, the Jacks, the Bendums. So like anything that WWF or WCW put out in the 90s, I basically had. There's still a few that I didn't, but uh I guess as a kid, I was smart enough to know, like, oh, this might be worth some money someday. So I had, like, I'm not sure what series it is, but like the Hogan with the atomic arm that comes straight out,
Mhm.
the Hasbro. I think
Mhm.
that's at my parents' place unopened. I think the card's a little bit damaged. I have a WCW like Smash and Slam or something like that of Macho and Miss Elizabeth in their NWO gear. That's
Okay.
like pretty mint on card. So
Mhm.
I started like kind of collecting as a kid, where I was like, I feel like some of these might be worth money someday.
Right.
And then still purchase action figures like through my teenage years, but like I would open them, display them, kind of play with them. So I didn't like start formally collecting again until 2020. My
Mhm.
lady and I went on a trip before the baby was due, and she was like, "Oh, hey, look, it's a Bret Hart action figure." And I was like, it was the Ultimate Edition in a Target, and I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? I've I've been following the fig community, just kind of lurking, but not really
From
collecting.
afar.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? If we're gonna start, let's at least start with Brett and see where we go from there.
Mhm. See, I had kind of a similar thing. It was more so with the elite line though. So I like from when I was a kid, I had all kinds of action figures. I had no sense of, oh, this will be worth money. I was just I'm gonna play with shit. A lot of that probably comes from like a lot of my collection probably came from like yard sales and stuff like that. So I didn't get a whole lot of like brand new stuff every once in a while. Um, but then, as one is to do, you kind of grow out of it, so to speak. And then my girl, my fiance Danielle, when we first started dating, it was like 5, 6 years ago. For my birthday, she got me like a Roman Reigns action figure, and it was the Elite. And I was just like, and I had no semblance of what action figures were like, because I collected like statues and stuff like that, or
Okay.
comic book stuff. But then like first of all, she's a collector herself. She's a inbox collector. she got me this action figure for my birthday, and I have never saved anything in a box. So the first thing I do is just start tearing into it. And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing?" And I was like, I'm gonna play with it. It's what it's for or whatever. Um, so like I opened it, and then so we now have kind of an agreement. Soon after that is like I open them, but I just can't like tear, like I have to carefully open them
Okay.
if I open them in front of her, which is why I have like a stack of boxes. I have a whole storage unit full of like empty boxes. I have no idea what to do with. Um, but then I start looking at it. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of articulation. Like I did not have this as a kid.
Mhm.
So then the very next one I bought, because like I was like, oh, I'm into this now. So I start looking at like Ringside Collectibles, and that was when the Wolfpack Sting Elite had just come out. I was
Oh,
like,
man.
okay, I have to buy this. So then I start, playing with them. Like, oh, you can actually do the Scorpion Deathlock. You couldn't do that when I was a kid unless you like kind of stretched the legs out a little bit, and you
Right.
didn't want to do that.
You
Yeah,
just
so
hope they
from
came in a pose that was, like, move friendly.
yeah, yeah, or if you get the bendy ones, you can maybe work that in there. But like, yeah, from there it was off to the races. Yeah, I did have, we were talking about some of the stuff that you had when you were a kid. I saw like a someone posted the ad on Facebook of like obscure like action figures. I had these WCW figures that had they both their hands made fists, and there were
Yes,
little
yeah.
magnets in the fists that they would link up and like toss. You could squeeze the legs and they tossed or something like that. And I was like, thought it was the coolest thing as a kid, but I'm looking at that commercial. I'm like, what is that? What move is that? I mean, I guess a monkey flip, kind of. I don't know, but it's like I've never seen that move ever. But when I was a kid, hell yeah, any figure I could get.
Yeah, just happy that, like, they did something other than, like,
Yeah,
be a stiff pose, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
The Hasbro or
Yeah,
the yeah.
the Hasbro or even the LJN back in the
Mm,
day, so
yeah. So did you have like a play set or anything? Did you have the ring and all that whole setup?
as a kid, yeah, I had multiple rings. I had the Hasbro ring. I had the WCW ring that I think that's San Francisco Toy Makers, around 94, 95, somewhere around there.
Mhm,
Um, then I had like a Nitro ring. I had the Jax Monster ring. Um, and I had like a regular Jax WrestleMania ring. And then for the classics line, I was probably like, this is right around like the cutoff age where I was like, I'm probably too old to buy this, but I'm gonna
mhm,
buy it anyways. Uh, Jax came out with like the full deluxe scale WrestleMania ring,
mhm.
and I that was like $100 or something, and I was like, take my money, please. But that was my last ring. I haven't purchased a ring since then, and now with a
Mhm.
2-year-old running around, I don't foresee a ring purchase in my future
Yeah.
anytime soon.
No, I got you. People ask me all the time, like, "Oh, when are you gonna have kids?" And like, as shitty as it sounds, the first thing I think is like, "Man, that would really cut into my action figure budget." I
Yeah, it
don't.
cuts into the budget, it cuts into the space. Like there's no more like your room. Every room
Right,
becomes the kid's room.
right.
So yeah, you got to learn to share pretty quickly.
I also think about like, so have you ever seen the Lego movie?
Uh, Lego Movie, no. Lego Batman,
Oh,
yes.
okay. I mean, it's been a long time. I'm gonna feel okay with for spoiling it for you, but like, essentially, the end of the movie is the message is that the dad of the movie is the bad guy. Big
Oh,
reveal, and he's the bad guy because he won't let his kid just like mess with his Legos. And
what?
like, yeah, I watched it with my roommate, and it's a great movie up until that point, and then we both just kind of look at each other like,
They're
of
healing up the
course, like
dad
my
because he has boundaries?
yeah, of course, and it's not even that they establish, oh, the kid has his own Legos to play with. Like, I guess it's the message is like hindering creativity or whatever, but it's like, no, he has his own to be as creative as he fucking wants. And like, my friend at the time and still like has like, the big elaborate like $300 like Star Wars set. So like it you feel something like
This sounds like this kid needs to learn the lesson no.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like
sometimes you just
the
can't have
movie
stuff.
exactly. The movie posits the dad as the bad guy and it
I
just
don't like that.
upset me so much
Let's
cuz
go
I
up to
have
their
like
headquarters. That's it.
yeah, exactly. Like I have like, couple big Lego sets around here. They cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
So like if I spend X amount of dollars on this Lego set to be a Batwing, it's
that's what
gonna
it
be a
is.
fucking Batwing. I don't you can make whatever you want with your own, but this
Right.
shit is a Batwing, that is a Batmobile, and there will
It's
never be anything
staying
different.
that way.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's why one of the many reasons I don't have kids.
It's one of the reasons I'm not watching the Lego movie.
Yeah, it's fair.
Sheesh.
If you like the Lego movie, you're wrong. Just
You're
because
wrong.
it sends a terrible message. So did you collect anything other than like than wrestling?
um no, well, I kind of have a collection of just like actually they're right up here. I lucked out. Collection of cards that are wrestling. So I got
Hmm.
like a stack here. Who's that? Is that
Right.
that's Adam Bomb front and center right there. But I got a
Hell
stack
yeah.
full of WCW and WWF trading cards that came out of the magazines or out of the packs. I have some packs
Hmm.
from like 87, 88, 89 of WWF cards. And then I guess I kept the cards from the ice cream bars too. I have a couple of those
Okay.
stashed in my stack. Like, other than that, that's it for my collections. It's just pretty much all wrestling
Right.
related because I'm a giant wrestling nerd.
Right. But anything different than that from like when you were a kid or
Nope, it was all
no,
wrestling,
just
man.
wrestling?
Just
I get
wrestling
it.
straight up.
I get it.
I
That's
was like,
that's how my like adult collection started. I was just like, I'm only gonna collect wrestling because that's the only thing I care about. But then fucking NECA comes out with the Ninja Turtle line, and I'm like, well, I can't not.
yeah, some of like the toy lines now are like so in depth and detailed that I'm like, ooh, maybe if I had a little extra coin, it's an
Right.
extra good merch month. I might want to drop some money on a Batman figure or the Ninja
Right.
Turtle stuff's cool. I think I saw some Ghostbuster stuff floating around from a Comic Con
Hmm.
recently where I'm like, okay, all that like piques my interest in like my avenue of pop culture, but maybe that's going to be like a, a post dad, when the kid's out of the house. Maybe
Right.
I'll start dabbling a little bit more and hopefully have some more
Gotcha.
expendable income then. Probably not though, but if I happen to fall into some money, a Batman toy line is probably the next thing I'd start collecting.
I would recommend it if you're going to dabble into another one, just because McFarlane does the DC figures now, and I don't think I have any in here with me now. A bunch of my stuff's in my storage unit, but man, those things are top notch.
Yeah.
McFarlane's crushing it.
Not to
Um,
blow up his spot, but Logan Easton LaRoe has let me into his gated community house a time or two, and I've been able to see some of his collection, and he's got some sweet Batman statues and figures. So like that kind of like makes me want to like, ooh, if I had it like Logan, again 1%, maybe I'd start to dabble.
I gotcha. I wish I'd brought one. I was just in my storage unit looking at action figures because I keep my stuff like I try to keep my stuff current in this particular display. So I was like, oh man, Bailey came back. I gotta grab my friggin' Bailey
Okay.
to put on my raw shelf or whatever. Um, Speaking of McFarlane though, hold on, I got grab these for you. Just another collection I dabble in,
Oh, sick.
which is good because they're very old and they don't make new ones, so I don't have to worry about spending I'm pretty much
Oh,
done with my Kiss collection.
that's
Um,
amazing.
However, I just said McFarlane's knocking it out of the park with the DC line. These Kiss figures from the 90s, very fragile. Very, very fragile. When I moved, like I tried my best to like wrap everything up, make sure everything's safe. Fucking Paul Stanley's arm fell off.
Oh, it's a terrible feeling when action figures like fall apart. I
It
remember my sister when she was born, like she couldn't have been like a year old, but she was like playing with a couple of my Hasbros, and like I saw her with Razor Ramon. It was the purple attire Razor Ramon Hasbro,
Mhm.
and his arm fell off. Now, thankfully,
Oh, no.
I had another Razor, so it wasn't the end of the world. But that was like my
Right.
first action figure to be damaged, and I was like besides myself. Like I was,
It's
how
a
could she do
very
this?
it's a very jarring feeling. Like, when I unwrapped this thing out of the bubble wrap or whatever, and the arm was just, like, in a separate space, I was just, like, head in my hands, "Oh, no, what could I have done better? How did I let this happen?"
You feel bad for the toy too. Like, if Toy Story is
Yeah.
real, like
Well,
homie's missing an
yeah.
arm now.
Well, yeah, and it's also like he has a guitar. I mean, you can't play without your left arm.
You could do drums, but you
I
can't do
mean,
the
Peter
guitar.
Criss got that covered.
It
A
does.
couple of his parts broke too. That sucks. I shouldn't say Peter Criss. I should say Catman.
The cat man.
The Catman, yeah, because licensing. It's just I think about that all the time, and it's so brilliant. They never put out merch with their actual names on it, because that way, if they have to replace a band member,
Oh, it's so smart.
God, like there ain't no Ace Frehley here, just the Spaceman.
Right. And the spaceman can come in or out, you know. It's
Yeah.
genius. I guess anything but wrestling, I guess I'm kind of super into, or was really into, like Gene Simmons' Family Jewels or Family Values,
Oh,
whatever the name
really?
of the
I
show
never
was.
saw the show.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a peek into the marketing genius of Gene Simmons. Sure is, I don't know. I don't want to be chewed out now. I don't remember every episode. There's probably some problematic material there, maybe not.
Oh,
I have no
yeah,
idea, but
they're
like
absolutely.
just to see like glimpses of his like marketing genius, I was like,
Uh,
like it's amazing to watch.
dude, I had an uncle who was like the like cartoon version of a Kiss fan. Like, comes from the 70s, wore like this t-shirt, but like the actual like back in the 70s.
The first
Like,
run.
yeah, had every album. It didn't matter. It's a greatest hits album. He already has 3 CDs with these same songs, but he's buying the greatest hits.
Yeah.
And then one day he got a catalog of just like nothing but Kiss merch. And it was nuts. Like what they put there. There's literally a Kiss coffin.
Yeah.
You could get 2 grand, I think it was. You could get buried in a Kiss coffin.
And what an affordable price, because like
I mean, I
it's
don't know what
expensive to
coffins go
die.
for. I'm pretty sure they're pretty pricey.
Yeah.
So dude, I don't know, but like I feel like they're up there on the level of marketing with like Star Wars
Yeah.
and fucking like Hulk Hogan, like name on everything. It don't matter. And that shit sells.
It does. Like I think Gene Simmons, it's a good thing his only intro to wrestling was like 2000 WCW, because I'm sure somehow he would be owning a wrestling company like if he got his foot in the door.
My
Because
God.
he's like the ultimate carny man. Like
Oh, for
he
sure.
could find a way to market absolutely anything, and Peter Criss
Paul
has been
too,
his right
not to the
hand.
extent,
Yeah.
but Paul too. I
Yeah,
mean, they're
Paul.
they're
Yeah.
both very business savvy, and that's their whole thing. That's why they're the two that just kind of stick around, is because
Yeah.
they're on top of their shit. I listened to both of their autobiographies, and good stuff. I'd recommend them. I don't remember the names of them. I just searched Gene Simmons biography or whatever. But yeah, last time we were on a show together, we talked a bit about
A
Kiss.
little bit. Yeah.
Um,
You're
yeah,
definitely
you
more knowledgeable than I am about the Kiss. I am a fan and appreciator of Kiss. I wouldn't. Have you been to a Kiss concert?
once, and it
Okay.
was one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my entire life, maybe the best.
Which farewell tour was it?
It was the most recent one because this was I think 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I tell you what, dude, Paul Stanley, he moves like he's like 20 years old. I'm sure as soon as the show's over, there's like ice packs all over him. But if that man can't go, I tell you what.
I feel like that's something with the old school rockers because I've seen Guns N' Roses twice. I think 2019, uh, maybe 2017, 2018, somewhere around
Mhm,
there. And then I saw them post COVID reopening in
mhm.
21. I think that was last summer. And both times, like Axel and Slash, just the way they can still move is incredible. And you wouldn't think that for a couple guys that are like either 60 or pushing 60 and the life that they've lived.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's something with those old school rockers, man. Like they're workers and like once they're
Well,
up on
that's the
stage,
thing
they just know what to
too.
do.
I mean, I know what podcast this is, but I was gonna compare it to, like, I saw, one of the bigger names on the show. I'm not gonna say who it was, um, but he was, like, not in the best shape when he got to the show, maybe not in the right mind, let's just say, but man, when he broke curtain, it was like it was '98 or
Red light
whatever, you
fever.
know?
Yeah.
And but then as soon as he came back through the curtain, was like hunched over, like
Right.
literally like leaning in a chair, just head down, rocking back and forth. Kind of sad to see, but I mean, when he was out there, completely different person.
Yeah, the switch is real.
Yeah, I don't know, but man, that Kiss concert kind of. So I always kind of I made fun of my uncle for being a Kiss fan. When I was a kid, I was like, "Come on, it can't be that good." And he lived in the same house as me, had the room across the hall, so I'd constantly hear, rock and roll all night and all that shit. I'm just like, you can't just. There's other bands. Come on. But then I went to that show and I said, "God damn it, he was right." That shit,
So I need to go to a Kiss concert, but like I'm still like
absolutely.
low key kind of scared of the makeup because when I was a kid, I found it really scary because I actually
Mhm,
had an uncle too that was a huge Kiss fan, and he
mhm,
had a whole shelf that was just like his Kiss shelf. It doesn't sound like as in depth as your uncle's collection, but like my uncle had like the albums and
mhm.
magazines, whatever else. Like he had a whole Kiss section of a shelf. So like I would like kind of look because I was like, well, that kind of looks like wrestling, and then like I'm like, oh no, it's like rock music. Well, okay, and like I keep looking, you see like the blood dripping out and the red tongue, and I was like, all right, I'm a little terrified now. So I'm not afraid of Kiss themselves, but people dressed
Mhm.
up as the Kiss characters.
I get that.
That is like, it still like makes me jump a little bit. So if I went to a concert and there's however many thousand people dressed like Kiss, I'd probably be living like a living nightmare fuel.
Right.
But
See, I
maybe if
don't
I participate and I
there
also
you
like
go.
join, maybe it would be less terrifying.
I don't know that I saw that many people in the makeup at the show. I know I definitely saw one, like, whole family, which I thought was cool. It was like grandpa, dad, kids, wife, all with the Kiss paint on. I said
That's
that's
dope.
badass. And that's what I like about it is just that it's very like universal for every generation. It's just like it's a spectacle, it's a show, it's like the circus or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's entertaining no matter what.
Psycho Circus?
Yeah, psychos. Someone on this might have used that as entrance music once
Oh,
upon a time.
snaps. Okay.
But no, and I don't know, man. I'll also say people shit on them for their music, like, oh, it's just a gimmick. Nah, man, that shit's pretty fucking. They got some bangers.
They do. They do. And you start like listing them off, and before you know it, like keep going back and forth with somebody listing Kiss songs. It's like, congratulations, you just listed like 18 tracks from Kiss that are, stone cold dope.
Exactly, and then again, back to the marketing is just like I think what people will do is there's a popular thing. I don't like this popular thing or understand it, so I will need to pick it apart
Hmm.
and like say, oh, it's just this that makes them popular. Not it's not that they're talented or whatever, but like they're playing what people want to hear. Like there's a reason they're so popular because like it's the '70s. Like all that shit's on the radio, like you got to hear it for it to really get involved at some point. And I think that even Gene Simmons fucking hates the song "I Was Made for Loving You." but god damn it, it was disco time, and we're gonna play what people want to hear,
Right,
and
play
we're
the
gonna
hits,
make that
buddy.
shit good.
Yeah, he takes it to the bank.
So what
Yeah.
if it, what kind of what other kind of concerts you into?
Haven't been to a concert, I think, since last summer.
Mhm.
One of the
It's
better
tough.
concerts. Okay, so confession time. Hopefully
Mm.
I don't get axed for this, but my first concert was actually a Fozzy concert,
Okay.
and my best friend at Not the Tool Man on Twitter, Tim Taylor, and I were living together at the time, and Fozzy was actually playing like 10 minutes away from our apartment. And day of, he won tickets because like Chris Jericho did a thing on Twitter. It was like, "Hey, who wants tickets? I'll do a contest or whatever." A very intimate venue, maybe 400 people max, but cool place. So he
Mhm.
won tickets. We're like, all right, I guess we're gonna go see Fozzy tonight. And it was like a Tuesday or Thursday night or whatever. We went, and it was actually a really good show.
Mhm.
So that was my first concert, and then from there, I was like, okay, this is really cool, but like, not that the intimate. I'm kind of a bigger guy. So like I feel guilty in smaller places. Like I'm taking up space. Somebody behind me can't see. I'm pushing somebody next to
Mhm.
me out of the way. So like if there's a way for me to be more spread out. So like that's why I like stadium shows. And if I can get
Right.
like a ticket in the back, I'm good because
Mhm.
humble brag here, but I have like phenomenal eyesight. So like being tall with great eyesight, I'm just like, give me like one of the cheaper tickets, put me in the back, and I can see everything and hear everything perfectly fine. Uh,
Dude, I will sit on the balcony any day. Like in my younger days, I'd get in the mosh pit and all that shit, and it's fun and getting close to the band and all that shit's fun. But one day I sat in the balcony, I said, "Now this is the life for me."
this is it. Yeah.
I could see above like the stage. I'm looking at pretty good view. I There's a waitress just bringing me drinks. This is it. This is concerts for me from now on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like having wings and you get to be like a drum guy, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like this is the experience I want from now on. Um, so I think since then all my concerts have been at like Hershey Park Stadium.
Mhm.
um, and they have like the structural backing is up against like the bleachers. So that's where I always try to sit so I can like even like lean back and big man
Mhm.
spread out.
Right.
Um, I saw Nickelback there,
Okay.
and that's probably another band right up there with Kiss where people are like, I don't get them. They're Nickelback.
I
Phenomenal show
Go
though.
ahead.
It was a phenomenal
Phenomenal show.
show, and that
Okay.
Chad Kroger brother knows how to work because they opened with like a couple hot songs, and then there was like dialogue in between each song that would go like a minute and a half, and then like he'd play a song, but like have people come up on stage to sing, and then he'd have
Okay.
like another band member do a song, or like they do an instrumental version of something, and I'm like, they just put on a 3-hour concert, but brother actually only sang for like an hour and a half. Like, that's
That's
genius.
working.
Yeah.
I was one of those Nickelback people, like whatever, fuck them. But that was like from the very beginning, like that Spider-Man song came out, and I was just like, I just don't like this at all. But everyone around me was just like, "Oh yeah, this is there." Everyone's rocking out to it, loved it, and I was just like, I don't know what everyone's I felt very alone, like in an alternate reality. And then it just became like eventually like the cool thing to hate Nickelback. And I have to like assess my surroundings. Like I know a lot of these people are just hanging on to hate something, but I need to assert no, I was the original. I didn't like them at first. I was the first to not like them or whatever. But
Yeah.
then we were playing my fiance and I were playing Rock Band. I was probably like 6 months ago or something like that, and we played the song "You How You Remind Me," and I'm playing my little toy guitar or whatever.
Dude,
I'm
oh
like, you
yeah.
know what?
Oh yeah.
This shit fucking slaps.
Yeah.
And I think it's just I didn't like that one song, so I rejected most of it for like my entire life, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is it.
Yeah, and I like that Nickelback has a formula. Like I really respect their formula. Every album they have, there's like one song for the rock station that's going to be like a big rock hit. There's
Mhm,
one song for the pop station that's going to be a pop station hit. And then there's always like an uplifting commercialized song
mhm.
that's going to be out. And then there's
That's
usually like another floater song where it's like this could be on a country station, this could be on the rock station, it could
mhm,
be on the pop station. It's like every song has like four albums and then or has like four songs that like you'll really hear out there. And then after
mhm.
that on a lot of their albums it's just like all about sex and drugs and
Right,
doing bad
yeah.
things. And like I think that part of the band gets ignored.
Yeah, I think so. Last year, it was a couple years ago, actually probably my whole life. I kind of went on like a butt rock kick
Yeah, let's
where
talk
it's
butt
just
rock, man. Yeah.
butt rock, where it's just like bands like that. But I think what Nickelback does is that like they're very versatile and that they can tap into that butt rock market, um but be commercialized, like, like Saving Abel or whatever,
Yeah.
like that they were never gonna get like
No.
anywhere higher than they were because they're just talking about fucking and like,
You can only have one song like that.
yeah, trailer trashy shit, and it's just you gotta branch out, or even like, the Salivas and the fucking Drowning Pools of the world. It's like you you gotta show some levels, man. You can't just be angry all the time.
Yeah, like I think about a band like Drowning Pool. Um, it's like you come out with Bodies, right? And like it's
Mhm.
such a super commercialized song, but it's also dope. But then
Mhm.
like what do you do after Bodies? Because when your like whole gimmick is like we play songs like Bodies. Well,
Mhm.
we already have Bodies.
We
So
have the
like
best version of it.
right. So then what do you do for the next 20 years, you know?
You re-record Bodies 20 years later. Or
HD
no,
deluxe version.
no, Saliva re-recorded, "Click Click Boom" like a
Okay.
year or 2 ago. It's
Okay, I'll have
bad.
to look it up. Oh, no, it's
No,
bad. Okay. I'm still gonna
dude,
look it up.
and I say this as someone who, like, I unapologetically, like, love trashy butt rock shit like that, and, like, then I heard that and I was like, "Nah, man, this ain't it." You just had to re-record it. I don't know what you're trying to change about it. This ain't it.
Dude, of all the butt rock bands, Saliva probably definitely makes like my top 5. Um,
Well, Saliva had a stronghold on the wrestling market for a
they
little
did.
while,
They did. If there is a pay-per-view from like
and like
'01 to
yeah,
even up
oh
to like
five,
'05, you were gonna hear
yeah.
Saliva at least once a year as the
Big
pay-per-view theme.
Dave came out to it. I
Heck yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
or even like so Bodies by Drowning Pool had a stronghold on the invasion angle. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
man, they use
You
that
hear
song for
that shit.
everything.
You hear that shit 4 times every show, uh, which
Even like when they did the new ECW, the only ECW that made money, like they made sure to use that as the intro song because I guess
yeah,
they still had those rights. So they were like,
yeah.
"Yo, we're using it."
I can't knock it. I mean, if you can get hot, get hot. But then you gotta give me something. You gotta show me some variety.
Yeah, no
That's
variety there.
like I just said about Kiss. They got fucking disco songs. It might suck. Your core fan base or whatever might hate it, but who gives a shit? Honestly,
Yeah,
like,
the unplugged stuff, like they got so much versatility, and
dude, I love an unplugged for no matter who it is. I will watch an MTV unplugged or whoever's doing unplugged these days. Love that shit.
yeah, it's something soothing but also exciting about it. You just hear
Hmm.
like the acoustics. Kelly Clarkson kind of had a couple like unplugged songs, and I love Kelly Clarkson. I think she's a national treasure.
Really?
Should be cherished. Yeah.
See, this
So
is where we differ.
no, not a fan.
So I like a few songs of hers. I've never delved deep into her catalog. I like Because of You is a bop. Since You've Been Gone, a bona fide classic.
Mm.
I When I was on vacation last year in Tampa, I was staying at my fiance's parents' house, and I don't even think they were watching it. They just had the TV on, and they had her talk show.
Yes.
on the television, and I
Number
was just
one.
like, I said, "This is insufferable. I
Oh
can't."
no, I love the Kelly Clarkson show.
I she's very extra, and I'm not saying it's not anything against her, but like it's kind of like if I came across this person in person, I'd be very on edge.
She's so energetic to the point where I'm like, I don't think this can be cooked or like be an act. Like I don't think that anybody like life-threatening weapon to their head could be like, I'm gonna be
Mm,
this energized. Like she is so
right.
charged up on that show where I'm like, that has to be her authentic personality. Because I can't imagine
Yeah.
that being manufactured for any amount of money because it takes so much energy.
I so it's like a morning show, right? So like
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being a guest on that show. It's like, 6 a.m. or whatever, and someone's coming at you like this, and
It is
I don't know.
a late, I guess it's a late morning show. It's usually around like
Okay,
11.
11. Okay, that's okay. I guess you've had a few cups of coffee in you by then.
Your day might be half over. Yeah.
No, I couldn't get into that. I might maybe be able to get into it if I gave it another try, but I probably never
That's
will.
alright. She also just came out with a covers EP. I think it's 4 or 6 songs.
Okay.
And maybe check that out.
That I
It's
might check out because I love a
yeah.
good cover.
She covers a Billie Eilish song. I don't remember the name of it because I'm over 20, so I don't know Billie Eilish catalog, but I know it's really good. And I think she covers a Whitney Houston song, perhaps, and yeah, she got some other good covers in there. So I
Okay.
would recommend that if you're looking. If the old Kelly Clarkson didn't appeal to you, this might. She has a different sound.
It's not even that it didn't appeal to me. It's just like I really like the song because of you. But it's also like I don't really need any more than this from you as a person, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's shitty of me, but no, I'm more of a Miley guy.
Okay,
Uh Miley and Taylor Swift, my
that's another thing we have in common is Taylor
one and
Swift.
one A. Hell yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's a show I've never been to. Just chomping at the bit, waiting for her to announce a tour.
Now,
Uh,
your fiance, would she go with you to a Taylor Swift show? Because I find
sh-
most women are like, I can't stand this lady.
she would go with me. She's not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, so she'd go with me to most concerts. I would say we did recently have a conversation. I don't know if you know who Big Wet is.
Only heard of him or or them.
R-
I'm not totally familiar.
remind me on Saturday. I'll hip you to some Big Wet
Okay.
and you'll know. But she was like, "That is a show I will not go to you with for whatever reason." For whatever reason, she's not a Big Wet fan. I feel like Young Gravy is kind of similar, and she's like, "Yeah, I'd go to Young Gravy," but like, I don't know.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, no, she's not a hate tail. She's not a huge fan. I did show. I don't know if you saw when she was on SNL most recently this past November when the Red album re-recording
Yeah.
just came out. She
Yes.
did the 10-minute version of
Oh.
All Too Well
Mhm.
on SNL, and she was like, "Oh my god, that was amazing."
Yeah, they should have ended the show there. 50
That
year
that should
run,
have
that
been
was
it.
it.
That should have just been the show.
Right.
Like I'll when we hop off here, I'll probably watch it again and still get goosebumps. I mean, that's one of the best SNL performances I've ever seen for sure.
Yeah, without question. Yeah, she dominated that.
And
Um,
the balls on her, like maybe not. I shouldn't gender it, but the guts of Taylor Swift, the boldness to just be like, you know what? I know I get two songs, but I'm only gonna need one. I'm doing one song tonight. It's gonna be twice as long, but you're gonna knock your fucking socks off.
twice as good.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like chill. Like I'm thinking about it. Chill. Taylor Swift has this ability to do this thing where she can just look at the camera. She can spike the camera for just like a half a second and just own you.
Mhm.
Like you belong to Taylor Swift. Like
Yep.
no pun intended, you belong with me, but like
My favorite Taylor Swift song.
just cut to the camera and it's like everything.
Yeah, everything shuts
It's
down. Yeah, you're Attention is on her. She demands attention and respect whenever you watch her.
She's like, "You're not gonna give a fuck about all the jet fuel I'm wasting when once this thing is over."
I feel like it's a fair trade-off, ruining our ecosystem for fantastic music that gets me through my life. Okay.
Dude, I'm with it. I had this thing, I don't know if you did, coming up where it's like it's kind of taboo to be like, "Oh, I like this female pop star for her music."
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
just it wasn't even until she released 1989, and that's when I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. All bets are off. I love this album, and I'm gonna love it loud and proud and not give a shit."
Uh, Red was probably I was probably half out with Red
Mhm.
because like she had some jams on there that got a lot of commercial play, and it started to show like a different side to her. She was like leaving the country genre, and people were
Mhm.
mad about it. And I was like, some
It's the
artists
Kiss
are
thing.
some artists are too big to be defined by a genre.
Oh, for
What is Justin
sure.
Timberlake? What is Michael Jackson? What is Lady
Mhm.
Gaga? To what is Katy Perry? Like she's pretty committed to pop, but like she was on that line for a while. Like
Mhm.
I don't think of a genre when I think of certain artists, and it felt like a natural evolution for Taylor
Mhm.
Swift to step out of country. So Red was like that album for me. Like people went to concerts and like brought back like merchandise for me, like the red drawstring bag and
Hell yeah.
some other stuff. So it's probably a Red album, but 1989, that was a big one. Like that was like, this is my chick, this is my girl, this
Right.
is this is who I vibe with. Yeah, that was a fantastic album and just came along right at the right time too. Now,
See,
do you catch flack for liking like people being a male? People think that you only like her because you think that she's hot. Like, is that a battle
right.
that you find yourself like having to defend your musical preference, not necessarily being associated with an artist's, attractiveness?
Not with Taylor Swift so much, just because I think I make it very clear, um, that I don't look, Taylor Swift is objectively a very attractive woman. I just kind of don't see her in that light.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there
You know
with
what I
you.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't see her and I'm like, "Oh, she's so hot." I do get that a little bit with, like, Miley Cyrus, and I think that's because Miley Cyrus actually, no, it's probably Miley that got me out of my shell of like, "Oh, yeah, fuck this, I like this," but I think maybe I peaked out with Miley and then 1989 came out and all bets were off. But when Wrecking Ball dropped, I was like, "Oh, this is the shit for
Yeah.
me." But that was a thing. We're just like, "Oh, you just like her," and it's because she kind of like her whole deal, not her whole deal, but a big part of her act is just her expressing her sexuality
Mhm.
and unapologetically, which I love her for. But it's also like, I mean, Wrecking Ball's a good fucking song, dude. Her last album, Plastic Hearts, dude, that's such a great album. I
She's
was
That
yeah,
Wrecking
so
Ball was everywhere. Like that was an inescapable song.
and because it's a good one.
Yeah.
And like so I have this kind of philosophy with like popular music. And you have your I don't know, your hipsters or whatever who are just like, "Oh, that's not good music. This is good music. This indie band playing in this coffee shop is better than that." And I just feel like music is subjective, right? We can't quantify how good something is, but if we had to, if you're forcing me to, the only thing we have statistically to go off of is like record sales, right? And you could tell me about how like, oh, the record companies pay X amount of the radio stations to play this. Okay, that's fine. But once I hear it, I still have to like it enough
Mhm.
to like purchase it or listen to it again on Spotify or whatever the case may be. So like objectively, if we have to objectify music, fucking Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift are just better than your favorite fucking indie band. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's something impressive about pop music that is able to, um, like, make people agree that, like, yeah, this thing is good because, like, how many songs are there? How many artists are there? Like, you could walk, 2 billion people up to a drive-through and be like, "Here are your options." What are the
Mhm.
chances that like all like a billion or a billion and a half of those people are like, this is what I want to
Right.
listen to. Like this is what
Mhm.
I want to eat. And it's the same thing with music. Like this is what I want to listen to. Like
Mhm.
the fact that there's pop songs out there, there's artists out there that are able to unify so many people and get them to agree, like, yes, this thing I'm listening to, I enjoy it and it's good. It like blows my mind because what else is there, on this earth that can make that many people agree on something?
Yeah. I mean, it's really beautiful. I like, I watched like the Reputation tour on Netflix for
Hmm.
Taylor Swift, and just watching just like a fucking stadium full of people that's just vibing to this pop star slash country star slash now like folklore singer songwriter. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about your artists when they start to evolve a little bit? So like Taylor Swift, she's definitely exceeds more than one genre, but
Mhm.
out of that one genre, like you just said, like she's been into pop, she's been into rock, and now she's like digging a little bit more into like the folk style music.
Mhm.
How do you feel about her kind of touching and other artists kind of branching out to his different genres?
Her specifically, love it. I mean, Folklore, I think, is my favorite album
Oh,
from
wow.
anybody ever of all time. I love it. I have a signed copy of it. I think I have 2 of them actually.
It's high praise.
My favorite, like, I it made me buy like a record player and a vinyl version of it. Like, that's how good it is to me. And yeah, she started as like a country singer, and I actually, what I did last during quarantine, I think, because I was very bored, I listened to every Taylor Swift album in an attempt to rank every song
Oh, wow.
personally for me. Um, and the thing that you kind of forget is like how country she was. Like, it's
Yeah.
very prominent. And she started that way, but now she's making, folklore, which is like, I don't even know how, like, that album itself kind of transcends genre a little bit. That and Evermore. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I'm okay with it. I've and I shouldn't say just her particularly. There are other musicians and bands that have evolved that I enjoy, and there's some that have involved, and it's just like, you know what, this is maybe not for me. Um, I was a big, I don't know if anyone knows the tattoo on my chest that I hate. I have a bullet for my Valentine tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, they've they evolved their sound, but I also don't know if it's like they evolved in the opposite direction of where I am, or if I
Mm.
just kind of grew out of just that being my whole thing. Um, I will say, and maybe this is a hot take. All right, I've gotten kind of backlash on this before, but Paramore's newer stuff is better than their older stuff.
Okay, so when you were talking about like kind of growing and evolving with a band, Paramore is that band for me. Like
Hmm.
I think me and Haley are the same age.
Hmm.
So a lot of like her music lines up exactly where I've been at the same stage of life as her.
Right.
Uh so like when they dropped the self-titled album, I was
Hmm.
like, I'm going through the same things as she is.
Hmm.
Like breakup, finding out who you are, like preparing for like life. I had just moved out on my own, like out of my parents' place. So like a lot of the stuff that she was singing about and talking about, and the band as a whole, I was like, wow, like we were lockstep. And then like the other albums that followed, I'm like, we're still like continuing to evolve. Like my
Hmm.
life is mirroring this artist's life, or at least like what they're putting out there. So I guess like what bands are like that for you?
Yeah. So Paramore's one I could think of. Um, I would say maybe Miley Cyrus.
Mhm.
Because she just, went through her stages just like anybody else. Wrecking Ball is very like, it's kind of like a coming out, and I was like 21 ish when that came out. So I was just kind of like, oh, I'm going out, I'm doing my own thing. I'm not like, I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. And I think that's what Bangers, that album, was about, or at least the vibes that I got from it. Then she had I don't know if there was one after that, but there was Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets, which is I highly recommend that album. It's kind of just from what I gather, it's her making the music she wants to make. She's really tapping into like the artistry
Mm,
of what she's doing and experimenting with new sounds. And I think that's kind of where I was at, just because like at the time I was doing stand up. Um, no one will ever hear my stand up. It's never gonna happen. But like, but then I kind of transitioned to wrestling, and I was just kind of like experimenting, like with new different art forms and how I can do them, how I can make them different. And then Plastic Hearts is just a vibe. That's and that's kind of where it's at. It's just like I'm vibing. Like
mm.
I like to vibe. Um, but yeah, that I think that's one for me. Falling in Reverse, I think, is one too that they've evolved, and I know that maybe not the most favorable of musicians, but whatever. I like it, so I'm gonna continue to listen to it, and no one can stop me. Uh,
Can't
but
nobody tell you
they've
how to live.
yeah, ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live. I'll tell you someone who evolved in the opposite direction as me. I mean, good
Uh,
God. I mean, me and Erica talked about it on the last episode at length, but whew, I loved Kid Rock when I was
mhm.
fucking 9 years old,
Yeah.
because that was the angsty shit that was on TRL along with Limp Bizkit and Eminem. I said, "This is fucking me." I didn't have the Jinkos because my mom wouldn't buy them for me, but if I could have, I fucking would. Um, but then a year later, I was into boy bands, so I don't who fucking knows, but yeah.
Yeah, I think our musical tastes kind of align a lot, or even if we're into different artists, the sound is kind of
Mhm.
similar.
Right.
Um, so like if I can ask, like I'm mixed personally, like
Mhm.
black and white. Are you as well or
Same.
same? Okay, so I think there's something that like with that racial mix that like where I don't know, just like in a different I feel like a wider net, like other mixed people that I've
Yes.
met as well that are around our
Mhm.
age. Like we're into boy bands, we're into like, pop females, we're into country, we're into new metal.
Mhm.
Kid Rock, the perfect example. Like I used to get down to Kid Rock. Like yo, that
Ball with
dude
the
was
ball
dope.
still fucking slaps, dude.
Heck yeah, yeah. Picture, yeah. I'll still cry if I hear that song and really think about it. It's
Banger.
not even like I can't even put myself in that situation. It's just a really good song. you know?
That's that's the thing about, like, so I mean, I touched on this in the last episode a little bit, but it's like his new music, his new album, or even just that one single, "Don't Ain't Nobody Gonna Tell Me How to Live," is like the subject matter is abhorrent and disgusting, but musically, it's like old Kid Rock. So it kinda gets me to I I'm not gonna shit on it. The subject matter, yeah,
Yeah.
disgusting.
But the
I
sound
think
itself.
and I will say this, I don't care if I say this on every episode. "Only God Knows Why" by Kid Rock is one of the objectively one of the most beautiful songs ever written by the most disgusting human being. It's insane, and he's the only writer on that song. He wrote that song
it's
and
that
sings
it's
the song,
it's the
and it's
meme.
fucking
Like it is the
beautiful.
actual embodiment of the meme. Like the worst person you know just made a great point. Like,
Yeah.
the worst person you know just made the best song.
It's the best. I think so the goons, we always bring it up, and I think people think we're doing a bit when we say it's the most beautiful song. But I hipped AK Willis onto it. We were on our way to a show, and he's like, nah, I don't like Kid Rock or whatever. And I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm like, Pops, trust me on this. And we're all like, no, you have to play this fucking song. So he put it on. And from the back seat, I watched him halfway through the fucking song. I watched him hit the heart button on the Spotify app. I said, we fucking got him. It's undeniable.
Got him. Welcome,
But I
welcome to
mean,
the cult of Kid Rock.
yeah, I do think like I think when you are biracial, and you kind of split time. I don't know if you did or not, but I split time between parents and shit like that, or even just like you're around different groups of people. You kind of you're just exposed to new worlds, maybe a
Mm.
little bit easier than some others, and yeah, I had a next door neighbor from my mom's house that hit me up to fucking Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit, and then I'd go to my dad's house and he would buy the bootleg Tupac cassettes from the fucking flea market. So it's like, and then my mom herself listened to a lot of like 70s soul, 80s music and shit like that. So it's like, all right, yeah, it's kind of all cultivated into my vibe now.
Yeah, a friend of mine, David Buchanan, actually does a podcast called Hit My Music, where he'll have wrestlers on, and all they talk about is actually like the music they grew up listening to,
Mhm,
what developed like their musical interests, and then like he does a lot of research and like different theme
mhm.
songs you've used during your career. So I highly recommend that podcast, and hopefully when he has guests back on, he hits you up because
Oh yeah.
I'd love to hear an episode just you talking about your different upbringings with music, man. Because yeah, we align on a lot of music, so I find that pretty fascinating.
Hey, yeah. It's always nice to when you have someone that aligns with. It's hard for me not to align sometimes with music to people though, but just because like you hear somebody say, "Oh, I like all kinds of music," but then you're
Uh,
like,
mm,
"Okay, okay, what about like death metal?" And they're like, "Oh no, not
wow,
that."
wow, 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 that's
What
not
ab
music. Yeah,
what about country? No, 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 not that. Okay, so you don't like all kinds of music, but
right.
me, I'm like, yeah, give me all that shit. I truly believe you could take any genre of music, and if you were able to sit and listen to every song in that genre, there's no way you don't have one song in it that you fucking like. Like I think it's a better worldview if you just kind of open yourself up to different experiences, different art forms, and shit like that.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of like adapt that mindset as well, but it's just like, especially being a wrestler, like on the road, who knows where you're gonna be? Like
Hmm.
this before, like streaming was more accessible, but like if you're driving through Tennessee, you better like find a country station you like because
Yeah.
that's all there is. There's nine different country stations, so hopefully you grow to like
we
something.
w- we were just in Nashville for the whole big weekend and stuff like that. And the last night we just wanted to go down Broadway, which is like the big
Yeah,
fucking strip or whatever. And we're just looking at bars to go to. Now, I will say, and you know this, you've seen it on Twitter. Before the before the Ric Flair show, we went to Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse. That's the
have
full
to.
name of it. And that place was a fucking blast. But then like we came out of Ric Flair's show and we're just like, all right, let's find somewhere else to go. And if nothing else, we'll just go back to Kid Rock's. We're just going bar to bar to bar, and eventually I just have to ask a bouncer that's standing outside. I was just like, "Hey, I know I'm probably not, but is there any bars here that's like not country?" And he's like, "Man, if you go a couple blocks that way." But it's also I don't care. I'm having a blast. Well,
Yeah,
I said Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse. They have a band on every floor. We sat down on the second floor. As soon as I sat down, I noticed that the band was playing Goodbye Earl by the Chicks. And I said, you know what? This is the floor for me.
yeah. This is you found your spot. Found your spot.
a genuine and a genuine country bop. If you I don't know. That shit's just good.
Yeah, I struggle with current day country because I found that country music, much like pro wrestling, can only push like one or two acts at a time.
Mhm.
And if something's country, and like I don't live in an area really where like, well, it is a little country, but like it's not like Nashville where it's like
Right.
the name brand of the city.
Mhm.
So it's hard to like try to get into like new country because all you really hear is like who we were pushing 6 months ago and who are we
Right.
pushing now. Um, but like 90s country, I can listen to like 70s, 80s, and 90s country, like,
Right.
and even into the early 2000s, like no problem.
See, I think my kind of peak of country music is like 98 to like 2008. Like just
Okay.
that 10-year span. And then like there's a few sprinkled in here or there. But I mean, that's when I was like, oh, Toby Keith's like fired all cylinders. Brad Paisley's coming up. Like, this is my shit.
I I actually had an ex who used to work for Toby Keith's clothing line.
Oh,
Funny
I
enough,
didn't
you
know he
mentioned
had
Toby
one.
Keith. I guess he did. I don't know what he was making, but she was in charge of it for a while, and
The same flannel shirt.
she just blew up his spot. Like Mr. USA gets all of his clothes made in made in China or some other
Oh,
place. And she was like, "You should really look into like making your clothes in America," and he was like, "Nah."
nah, why would I? Well, that's like the Kid Rock. Hold on, Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse. There were no prices on the drinks.
Oh.
We got some sticker shock when we got the bill,
Hmm.
and we're like, where the fuck did this come from? Because I was only drinking beer. I had one, like, mixed drink, but I was drinking beer. And then, oh, $9 for a Bud
Ooh,
Light. Kid Rock, white trash
the
fucking
everyman,
mascot.
right? Yeah.
Yes, he's a man of the people is charging $9 for a fucking Bud Light.
That's
No, don't.
insane.
Because I was saying, I was like, I know this is kind of a gimmick that we're here, we're kind of doing this ironically, but if I lived in Nashville, I might be a regular here. But then we got the bill, and I was like, no, I could never afford to be the fucking norm of Kid Rock's big ass honky tonk rock and roll steakhouse.
Not for their $9 a pop.
That's the stadium was
I was gonna
$8.
say it's stadium prices, man.
But what? Come on, Kid Rock. I mean, the steak wasn't even that badly priced, but I guess he gets you on the fucking Bud Lights.
That's where the big part comes in.
I mean, God, yeah, the big ass fucking Kid
Big
Rock's
bill.
big ass fucking receipt. God. Well, this has been a fucking blast, dude. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, man.
But I think we'll wrap things up here. Do you have anything you want to plug? This will come out on Monday.
If you don't follow me on Twitter at Boar's War on Twitter and Instagram, I don't use Facebook because nothing good happens on Facebook. Remember that, kids. And I think a lot of my you can check out the LVAC Steel Stacks SmackDown show. That's going to be August 27th up in the Lehigh Valley area. I think that's Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Standing room only. Tickets remain. Super huge card. Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston already announced. There's going to be lots of very talent from the independent level as well on that show. So those shows are always awesome. Go ahead and check those out. And other than that, yeah, just throw my man Rockin' Rob some love as well.
Thank you for that. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at rockin_radkey. You can SW is already passed by the time you've heard this, but congrats to Big Dust on his wedding.
Big congrats. Yeah.
You can catch me at, I think you'll be there too, right?
I'll be
Pizza
there.
Party on
Yeah. Yep.
August 20th. I will be facing Kennedy Copeland. Oh, that's another thing we're at odds about, I guess, because I'm Team Pineapple.
See, and I'm team not pineapple, but you actually have the correct take. And if I could boost your take and be on
Okay.
that team, and there was a own separate team for, but in this instance, then I would be on that team. But if I have to pick sides, then I'm going to go with the general swoop and say no pineapple.
I get it. So we're both kind of centrists, but leaning opposite ways on it.
Not fence riding, but yeah, definitely centrist.
Gotcha. But that's fine. I'll be cordial with you about the whole pizza thing because you've listened to the take. You kind of agree with the take.
I do.
Kennedy Copeland's gonna get her fucking ass beat over it though, so that's where I stand. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Boar, thanks again for not for having me. thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you Saturday, and stay rad, everybody.